We'll also be discussing matters that pertain to the Punguza Mizigo Bill, which continues to reach county assemblies across the 47 counties following the okaying of the 1.2 million of the 1.4 signatures by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission IEBC on Thursday last week, and of course following the presentation of the signatures by Third Way Alliance Party of Kenya, Party of Kenya's Dr. Ekuro Okot. So I was on David Ochola before we went on break, and it pertains, of course, the ongoing fight against corruption, which appears to be intensified. And looking at the development now, which appears to be one that is heading to the court of public opinion equally, and David Ochola, coming to you, does it also signify or send a signal, perhaps, of stepped-up efforts by the DPP and the DCI, and what do they need to do in terms of enticing or spicing up the relationship between the judiciary and, of course, the investigative agencies and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, owing to the bad blood in which the judiciary said, the president of the judiciary said, don't bring us hawkish cases, bring us cases that can be proven beyond reasonable doubt. That aside and acknowledged, what needs to be done then going forward by the judiciary, because there are accusations equally of corruption that is deep, rife, and institutionalized in the third arm of the government?
Even though I'm not a learned friend on those legal issues so much, but I think there's a sabotage between these two systems, between the office of the DPP,
generally the criminal justice system.
The criminal justice system. They are somewhere on the road where there are people who are sabotaging all this process, because Nurdin has tried his best, going to the extent whereby you travel abroad, you bring back the issue and you say now there is a clear evidence, and you arrest, you present to court, then you start wondering what is happening here at the court. That is where we are doubting. We are still doubting, and me personally as David, I'm doubting the systems of the judiciary in this country. Because again, as you can see, most of our politicians are members of this system, judicial system. They are lawyers, and they're serving in capacity as legal representatives. As you can see yesterday, Murkomen Rush there. It used to be when you are a member of parliament, I think they were not allowed, I think, to practice. But when we brought in this new system, new constitution 2010, it came up with some bad consequences. And some of the consequences are this what we are seeing. And this is why we, to some extent, I will support, even though it's coming, I'm thinking to support the Punguza Mizigo proposals on the presidency, to give some presidential power to the person in that office, so that you can execute what can save the country in terms of fighting corruption. But what I can say in my conclusion on this issue, because we should not, I said it is bitter every time we are talking about, oh, the money is getting low. Some people saying, bring the evidence. Surely, what evidence do you want when 19 billion has been paid and on the ground there's no cap, which was supposed to be bought by 19 billion? What evidence do you want us to prove when already there's no money in the treasury? It has been paid out. There are vouchers and invoices and all sorts of proof that this thing is out there, it got lost. What evidence do you want us to prove? And the person we are accusing, you can see within a short time, the kind of money he is now having, which even if you calculate his salary within 5 to 10 years, cannot accumulate such money. So I think judiciary need to organize themselves. The president of the judiciary, Honorable Maraga, need to do more in his system. I can't blame the investigative agencies. They are doing their work. Okay. So judiciary is where there is a problem. And we have been seeing since their problem. Somebody, you take a case, like for example, take a cases of election, the petitions. The lower court will annul the election. If you go to the other court, will appel. If you go to Supreme, do another thing altogether. That tells you these guys are totally corrupt in their system. That is why fighting corruption We will not fight corruption in this country with the change of constitution. We will not fight corruption even if you elect a pastor who is, we know that this person meets God. We will not, unless we change some things in the system, especially the judiciary.
Well, while we might say we do not have to go to that point of changing the laws, look at the situation of awarding bails and bonds, almost an automatic prolonging of the case. And it's a fact that when the cases are prolonged, then there's also probabilities that, of course, the cases will be interfered with. Evidence that is supposed to be presented by the investigative bodies will be interfered with. We saw with what happened to, of course, Swazuri. At some point in time, a computer that had all this information disappeared just because Swazuri was out and all that. So how best can it deal with this to avoid, first of all, the prolonging of such cases? Should we change actually the law to a point whereby it's going to be guilty until you're proven innocent at some point in time? Or what happens in the likes of Rwanda and all that? You're there for 90 days until, of course, all these investigations are conducted, so that then we can now decide whether we're going to award you bail or not.
Now, I think for me, I have trust in judiciary, especially there was a case of Honorable Justice Mwilu on how do you bring this evidence to court. You know, the law is very clear on how you bring laws. Did you acquire the evidence legally or illegally? That is where now the case might be squashed. Now, let me come back to the judiciary. Judiciary, I think they should be given more funding, such that they have more magistrates, more judges at the appeals court, and judges of the High Court. So that when a case is brought, you know, when a magistrate, when you look at the diary of a magistrate or a judge, it is full. If you come to court now, he'll give you a date in next year, February. Because in his diary, there is no date that he can expedite the case. So if they are given more magistrates such that cases are set in matters of, everything should be certified as urgent and they are acted upon decisively. So that, you know, there is nothing you can do about that. If a magistrate gives you a date in next year, April, and even if you complain to the JS, it will come with evidence. I don't have what? A free date. So if they are given more money, they hire, and then they expand the courts, and then they have on the spot, maybe cash bail. They can also decongest the prisons. And, you know, again, the Constitution allow softer or reasonable bail terms. Remember the case of the governor Samburu. He was given a cash bail, a bond of 100 million. But later the High Court said that this is too much. Was given a reasonable amount because sincerely, where do you get 100 million? Are the courts in a process of profit making or something? A profit making process or what? No, it is good actually. It is a deterrent, but it should not be excessive. Because if I am in a public office and I realize that my counterpart was given 100 million, as a deterrent, I will be very careful. Because even if you check my account, maybe I have 1 million maximum. But now you are given this. So it's a cause of deterrent. So there is a public outcry that whenever you go to court, you take plea, you are given bail, and then you go again back to, it's like someone has murdered, or someone has raped. You went to court, and then he is given again what? Cash bail or bond. Now, imagine now how the victim will feel. He'll feel cheated, he'll feel scared, all that.
The same way the citizens are feeling about their money.